Hey there, this is Dr. Justin Marchegiani, and today's talk is going to be on how we use digestive enzymes, acid, and bile salts, basically digestive support, appropriately. Now, everyone's a little bit different, and the rule of thumb is the more healthier you are, the more you can break the rules, right? This kind of goes this way in school. If you're, have really good grades and you're good, your good study habits, you can kind of break the rules a little bit. Same in sports, same in health too, right? The healthier you are, you can miss with your diet a little bit. The more sick you are, the more you have to be on point. So when we're dealing with digestive support, again, with your run-of-the-mill average person that may just have a little bit of stomach issues, they may just be able to throw in some hydrochloric acid or maybe a broad spectrum HCL with enzymes and bile salts together, and that may be good enough. With a lot of my chronically ill patients or the patients that have had digestive problems for over a year or so, we have to get a little bit more fine-tuned and specific while the person heals, so we can get the right amount so we're not creating inflammation. So when we give digestive support, the last few years I've been experimenting with great results in separating the hydrochloric acid and the enzymes. And the reason why this is important is because hydrochloric acid, as essential as it is for digestion, because of its low pH, it can be very irritating in the stomach. And when people have chronic issues, they tend to have atrophic gastritis, which is a thinning of the gut lining. So if this is our stomach over here on the right, what you're going to see is this black coating is the stomach, basically the protective membrane around the gut. And if we have chronic stress, H. pylori, the whole 9 yards, infections, this can slowly get worn away, and it's going to expose the inner part of the stomach that's more sensitive to the acids. So what we have here is around the black part, we have these foveolar cells, and they produce bicarbonate, HCO3, and that helps neutralize a lot of the stomach acid. But if we lose that gastric lining, that acid can come in there and really create a lot of inflammation and wreak havoc. And what happens is when it becomes damaged over long periods of time, instead of functional tissue being there, meaning tissue that actually creates enzymes and acids and such, we have tissue that's replaced by fibrotic tissue, i.e. scar tissue. It's kind of like you have healthy skin, you get burned, right? You're a burn victim, you can see the change in the skin, and a lot of times if you were to touch it, you couldn't feel it a lot of times. Same thing with your stomach. We lose that sensory perception that we need for healthy gastric secretion. So again, this is what happens with chronic stress. And when we're doing enzymes and hydrochloric acid, if we package them together, hydrochloric acid is going to be our rate limiting step. So if we're taking one product with everything in it, right, we have enzymes on this side, HCL on this side, I can only bring them up in the same ratio. So if we're here with the HCL on this side, but the enzymes could go up here because the HCL past here will start burning, then we're stuck. So we want to have them separate, so then if the HCL starts hurting here, we can go up separately with the enzymes and have a maximal benefit. So what I typically recommend with patients is each day, so if on Monday, let's say this is Monday, we're doing one cap of HCL 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Well then on Tuesday, we would do 2 capsules at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then so on. We do the same thing until we hit our maximal barrier. So typically with patients that are sensitive, it may be 1 HCL, it may be 2. So we find that benefit, whatever that number is. Let's say we're going to just circle 2. Let's say at 3 HCLs, that's where our symptoms occurred. So let's say symptoms occurred here. So we would just back off by 1. So then we would go back to Tuesday's dosage. And symptoms could be burning, a little bit of heartburn. It could be a little bit of nausea or irritation or just not feeling too well in your tummy. So we go back to our Tuesday dose of 2. So we write down 2 as being our HCL dose. So we'll make a note on that. So 2 HCL 3 times per day. Now once we have our HCL dose down, enzymes are really well. So we can start with enzymes typically anywhere between 1 to 4 caps. Enzymes aren't going to be as abrasive. So when we're doing enzymes, really simply Start with 1, work up to 2, work up to 3, work up to 4. If you don't feel a difference in digestion, meaning you don't feel like you broke the food down better, you're not seeing a better stools, you're not seeing food particles, if you're seeing the maximal improvement at 3 versus going to 4, you don't see a big jump in your improvement, then we would just keep at 3. So if we're benefits at 3, we're feeling lighter, no gas, no bloating, then we'd probably just keep our enzymes at 3, and that would be our dosage. So if I'm dealing with this patient and at 3 enzymes they feel pretty good, being their average meal, we'd have 3 enzymes 3 times a day, and we do 2 HCLs 3 times a day. That would be a good starting point. Basically, the goal isn't to be on HCL for life or enzymes for life. The goal is really to make sure we kind of give our stomach a crutch. So imagine this stomach being like a broken foot. You want to give it a crutch so it can basically take the stress off it. Now, when you have a broken ankle, you could actually, walk on crutches the whole time. But when we're eating food, we can't not eat food. Food has to pass through our stomach for digestion. So having enzymes and HCL is going to be vitally important so we can maximize digestion. So that's going to be our program for how we dose the enzymes, how we dose the HCL. And again, if we don't have a gallbladder, we definitely have to be very careful with adding in bile salts. So if you don't have a gallbladder, if you have a history of hormonal issues, we definitely have to make sure some bile salts potentially are in there. A lot of times with the enzymes, we're going to have fat enzymes like lipase that can actually help as well. But bile salts will be important if you don't have a gallbladder. So dosing wise, we kind of already addressed that. HCL, hit your maximal dose wherever that symptom is, back off it by 1. Our symptoms were at 3 capsules, we back off to 2. When we're dealing with enzymes, we go up to our maximal benefit. Once we hit that benefit and we receive no longer an improvement by going up to the next dose, we would go back off 1 from there. So at 3, we feel good, no digestion issues, no bloating, no gas, our stools look good, we're not constipated. We go up to 4, we receive no extra benefit, we go back down to 3. And again, what's the root cause? So when we're dealing with food, some people are going to be super sensitive. So they may have to be on a GAPS or a specific carbohydrate diet, cutting out phenol, salicylates, maybe even going low FODMAP. This may not be forever in some people, it really depends. So if we have a gut infection there, we have to get to the root cause of the gut infection so we can reduce the inflammation, because that will prevent the gut lining from healing. And then obviously stress. So some stressors are making sure you chew your food well enough. Also making sure that you're not hydrating while you eat. I mean, a couple ounces of water is not a big deal to help get the food down, but we don't want to be diluting our digestive enzymes and raising the pH in our stomach, because again, the pH is supposed to be around 1.5 with the hydrochloric acid in there. So if we drink about 8-10 ounces of water of HCL, we drink 8 to 10 ounces of water, that's going to dilute the HCL. Water's a pH of 7, HCL is a pH of 1.5. That's going to raise the pH up. And a lot of our enzymes in our stomach are pH driven. So we raise the pH, what's going to start happening is we're going to start decreasing our enzymes. And that is going to hurt us in our ability to break down protein, fat, and carbohydrate appropriately. So making sure we're not drinking while we eat, making sure that we give ourselves 15 minutes to eat, and also making sure that we chew up our food well enough. So making sure, essentially, the old Buddhist proverb is, make sure you chew your water and drink your food. So essentially, chew your food up enough to a liquid consistency where you can swallow it down where it kind of feels like oatmeal. It's pretty liquefied, maybe a little chunky, but it's pretty, you get a good sense you can kind of slurp it down, almost like a smoothie consistency. And then with our water, we're chewing our water, kind of giving our water a chance to imprint on our saliva so our body can absorb it better. So I hope this is helpful for you. If you have a chronic gut issue, you haven't dialed in your diet, or you may have some chronic infections, maybe even leaky gut as well, feel free and click on the screen or reach out below to get a hold of me. Thanks, this is Dr. Justin here. Have a great day.